I was always a fairly decent communicator, both orally and written. Like I kind of knew that I was able to put words in ways that were either interesting or funny or convincing or whatever it is, like for whatever I needed to do at school. So I always like writing. And then I joined a band young and was the kind of singer and lyricist. And I guess probably the first major influence would be somebody like Zach De La Rocha from Rage Against the Machine or Rocca. I think it might be. I'm not sure if it's Rocha or Rocca, but Zach, the singer from Rage Against the Machine, is like one of the best, I think, like really direct, emotional kind of storytellers. And it's also this thing of like, and I think it was years later that I realized this was what he was doing, but that you let the words suit the music and the music suit the words. So that there's a relationship between the two ways in music that you can kind of elicit emotion through words and through melody, music, drum beats, whatever you want to call it. In terms of writers, I guess the first book that I really loved, like really, really, really loved, and like thought I love this as much as I love another form of media, like a song or an album or a TV show, was Catch on the Rye, which is a very like, very stereotypical answer for a young boy of like sort of 13, 14. But I remember just being like amazed that a book could be funny, like an adult book could be funny when I was like 12, 13. I was like, oh, this is actually like quite interesting and funny, and I want to continue to read this. And then people like Kurt Vonnegut, poets like John Cooper Clarke, Kay Tempest, um, poets that maybe speak a bit more in a voice that is more immediately understandable as a human being speaking, as opposed to maybe some of the more classical poets who sound kind of ethereal. And that's really cool in its own way, like, but I also think that I like to, especially at the start of your journey, it's really good to see someone speak in a voice that you recognize. I think Scottish person, a band like the Proclaimers, as much as everyone knows their kind of one big song abroad, they're an incredible band that have got like loads of albums of like fantastic work, and one of the most important parts of them is that it lets you see that the Scottish language is not something to be kind of ashamed of and to cover up and to hide. And I'm sure that's even more true if you get into people who don't speak English in English speaking countries like the Irish Gaelic population, or if you think about things that are like languages that kind of grow out of someone or a group of people being forced to speak English that wouldn't have naturally, so like Jamaican patois and stuff like that. I think music's this amazing vehicle for language to express itself in less formal ways. So reading, listening to people, the Proclaimers, and then reading people like God, hold on, I've forgotten the name of this person, and I absolutely have to.
No
Um,
worries. I know the feeling.
uh, so there's a Scottish poet, and I had to get the name of the poem, but it's the poet's called Tom Leonard, and he writes in like phonetic Scots. So like the one of his most famous poems called "The 6 o'clock News." This is the 6 o'clock news. The man said, and the reason to I talk with a BBC accent is, and it's all written in like actual phonetic, and
Right,
like
right, right, right.
that would be the wrong way round. But essentially, the lyricism came from first feeling something from other people using lyrics, feeling something from people like Alex Turner from the Arctic Monkeys, Billy Bragg, Jarvis Cocker, and then going, right, well, how is it that I can try and do this? And then realizing that to a more or less of an extent, a lot of the people, Courtney Barnett would be another person that was massive when I was starting to write music. Um, More or less, these are people who write like they speak, and that why don't I try writing like I speak and see where it goes? And I wrote better songs than I'd done before, so I just carried on with it. And now, if anything, I'm kind of almost not going the other direction, but examining that and trying to play around with that and trying to maybe leave more space and be more ambiguous. So yeah, I think language is just fascinating. Mate, I could talk about it for ages. I think as well, like the idea of humanizing through language, people that are dehumanized through language. So even people like Lou Reed and the Pogues would be people that I think are really good at taking the kind of people in society that you're not meant to sympathize with and creating stories that you want to sympathize with. And I think that's a good exercise in empathy. But that's not unique to any one writer or genre. I think that's true of so many genres. A lot of a lot of Motown, a lot of R&B, a lot of country music, a lot of singer-songwriter music is kind of about telling the story of someone who maybe you wouldn't have thought of finding out the story yourself. So yeah, I think lyricism in music is this kind of complete. There's infinite possibilities. It's just as valid to write a short story in a song as it is to make up your own language. Like Cockatoo Twins, a Glaswegian band that are just fucking amazing. And the whole point of it is that it isn't about the words that they're saying, it's about the sound that their voice is making with the music.